So, I just watched the Miraculous Ladybug and Chat Noir movie, and I had some thoughts. Yes, I am aware this video is late. There's a queue. This script has actually jumped over quite a number of others. I've seen a lot of people declare that this is what the show should have been and that Zag's movie handles the characters a lot better than the series. But my thoughts are more measured. Spoilers for the whole movie, by the way. And the show. I don't usually talk about the look of a show or movie when I review or analyze them unless I find something worth noting. And everyone and their mother and their father has praised this movie for looking amazing, and well, you can see the screen for yourself. This movie is gorgeous. The textures, the lighting, the animation, it's beautiful. Though I think seeing the characters from the show in the background is kind of funny because it's instantly so obvious which character was created for just the background of this movie and which one is adapted from an actual show where they have a character. I thought the movie was fun. I was a little horrified once I realized it was a musical, and I keep questioning why Christina V wasn't the singer for Marinette, but as I got used to it, I found I actually liked some of the songs. I also like the character dynamics we get to see, with some caveats I will bring up later. More than anything, this is a great study in the advantages and disadvantages of compressing an entire series into a movie. When I watch it, I feel like it was written by someone who watched the first season of the show, read a 420 character tweet summarizing the entire Agreste saga that didn't mention the ending, and was told to make a 100-minute movie telling a complete story of what they just saw. And then they decided they liked the 2D PV better than anything they just seen. Take Marinette for example. The movie gives her a simple, straightforward character arc about finding her courage and overcoming her negative mindset. The short runtime means that while we do get to see some of her eccentricities, they don't really have time to exaggerate them to the point of how obsessive she comes across in the show. But then there's Adrien, and I have mixed thoughts on him. A lot of people praise his portrayal as being better than the show, and you know what? Considering he was there for the defeat of Hawkmoth, I can't really disagree. But the movie has the unfortunate dilemma of having to adapt the show's premise, wherein the main character feels like an outsider in the main plot. And when it came down to things to remove to reduce the movie to the 100 minutes runtime it got, Adrien was clearly ahead of Marinette on the chopping block. And no two characters exemplify this more than Chloe and Plague. Chloe still has her original motivation of trying to claim Adrien as hers, but they never share any screen time. As I write this, I just watched the movie yesterday and I can't recall Adrien acknowledging that she exists once. If you didn't watch the show and don't know the context of their relationship, I'd forgive you for thinking she's just a fangirl who he's never actually spoken to. Which honestly might make her more entertaining. I found this version of Chloe to be a pretty funny mean girl and generally entertaining for what she's meant to be. But the movie puts much more emphasis on her relationship as a bully to Marinette than with Adrien, to whom she's supposed to be his first friend. So she's good for Marinette's arc, but also exemplifies what I'm talking about when it comes to Adrien. Also, the movie establishes that him and Nino are already friends. Also, I like Sabrina like 10 times more in this than I do in canon. The more egregious change is Plague, who has gone from having possibly the best Holder-Kwame dynamic in the show to a fart machine. Meanwhile, Tiki and Marinette's dynamic gets so much more focus, where we get to see Mari's first meeting with Tiki, her reaction, 2 whole songs about accepting her power, and a transformation sequence. Adrien pretty much just jumps onto the scene and we can only assume something roughly similar happened to him. This is partially a result of their characters. Adrien being much more eager to accept being a hero means he's not as interesting to follow at this point of the story, but the closest thing he gets to a transformation is this scene.
Plague? Claws out!
Which is cool, but still. We actually get a lot more from Adrien after we move into the phase where they are established heroes. I do understand people saying Adrien gets better focus in this movie. When comparing both forms of his character, I think the middle and end of the movie character is better, but the beginning is simply inferior in my mind, with Adrien going from essentially sneaking into the school against his dad's wishes to experience something he's never done before, to just being in the library. Is he still sneaking out to come here? Is he even a student? The movie isn't clear. Adrien's civilian life is much more like the PV, even tracking with him meeting someone important in the library, being a more quiet and depressed kid rather than an upbeat model. So I get why the introduction is different. But that doesn't change the fact that show Adrien's introduction is simply stronger and more impactful. Though to give the movie credit, this characterization is utilized well enough for the arc they wanted to give him. But all that aside, like I said, the movie is fun. Seeing Ladybug and Chat snipe at each other then learn to work together was great. They have such great synergy, you wonder if they can read each other's minds for how much they seem to. But that's just a pretty common trope. I have a plan. Well, you don't have to tell me what that plan is because you've telepathically beamed it into my head just by telling me it exists. Now I will go and do exactly what you need me to do. There's a whole montage of them acting as Paris' heroes that I'm sure you could fit a whole season of adventures into, but we don't really need more than that for a movie. The Lady Noir shippers will definitely appreciate the scenes between them. The Adrienette shippers have already said they wish there were more scenes between them out of costume, but you know, the chopping block. Funny enough, the watch ad that was made for the movie does a lot for characterizing them interacting out of costume. So if you felt the movie didn't have enough Adrienette, I suggest you look up Miraculous movie watch advertisement and watch that. It even has Plague as an actual character. Where was I? Oh right, I was talking about the Lady Noir vs Adrienette ship. The people who are simply getting into the series with just this movie will be very confused at the reactions because it's technically the same ship. But really, Lady Noir has so much chemistry, I'm shocked Marinette didn't make it explode. Adrien's character arc is understated compared to Marinette, but it's there if you're looking for it, with his frustration with his dad and the opening up of his heart to Ladybug culminating in the piano scene, which connects with him telling his dad that he has to move on at the end. Despite Ladybug being the one to give the speech about the power of love to overcome anything, that theme is very much about those two instead of her. But once again, when it comes to the whole love square dynamic, the runtime rears its ugly head as we go from the two of them rejecting each other for each other directly into the end without really getting much time to dwell on it. And I'm sorry to say, I didn't find the end as enjoyable as I think it could have been. And it's Adrien's fault. Or more specifically, one of Adrien's character flaws colliding with the timing of the final act of the movie. The flaw in question? Handling rejection. Specifically, handling it poorly. His pity party, spent listening to Careless Whisper, and can I just say some of the soundtrack choices in this movie surprised me, means he's late to help when Hawkmoth starts his final attack, acts mopey, then even though the movie has had a real emphasis on the need of them to work together, he runs off to fight Hawkmoth alone, loses, gets knocked out, then Ladybug has to fight alone, also loses, gets her Miraculous stolen, and then Hawkmoth fights Chat Noir before beating him up and realizing he's his son. I know the relationship between Hawkmoth and his enemies here is pretty non-existent compared to the show, so it wouldn't mean as much, but would it really be too much for me to say I wish we got like a minute of Ladybug and Chat working together to fight him before they lose? And I gotta say, even as someone who has watched the show, the movie's version of the power system is a bit baffling. They keep referring to the butterfly's ability to make evil Akuma, but also insist it should be used for good. Maybe they should stop insisting that it makes evil. And Hawkmoth akumatizes himself into kind of becoming a god. It's very vague. And Ladybug and Chat just kind of randomly pop out their special abilities at the end of the movie. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something I feel I should mention. And here's something interesting, Ladybug doesn't seem to be able to use her Lucky Charm ability, but in a strange way that actually kind of balances their powers more than the show. Chat has the Cataclysm that allows him to destroy stuff, and Ladybug has Miraculous Ladybug, which allows her to fix stuff. But I've been putting off talking about the new Hawkmoth until now, so let's do that. Gabriel Agreste is easily the most improved part of this movie to show transition. I mean, he called his son and made him go home from the fair right before the villains attacked it. That alone makes him a better dad. Sure, Gabriel could have had Adrien's skull thrown into the sun, and I doubt he'd remember he has a child unless it's once in a blue moon, when the show wants us to think he's sympathetic instead of just pathetic. Movie Gabe is a completely different character from the show, and in my opinion, he's better in almost every way. This time, the chopping block really helps because it chopped off most of the 100+ episode faff around his character. At first, he's hesitant to destroy Paris the way the butterfly shows him he'll need to do to accomplish his goal, but as he makes concessions to unleash chaos and sinks deeper into desperation, it slowly takes its toll on him. The scene where he checks on Adrien, looking like a mess while trying to figure out why his son didn't come home last night, only to get told off, is amazing. And by the end of the movie, he's reached the point where he's willing to akumatize his own dark heart and throw Paris into the chaos he hesitated to incite earlier, only to defeat the heroes and realize one of the people trying to stop him is his son, snapping him back to reality, letting Adrien tell his dad that they need to let Emile go. And Marinette stands there watching awkwardly, doing basically what I said would be an inevitable conclusion to this arc in a video I made over a year ago, but having seen what could have happened instead, I prefer this. I mean, think of it this way: when show Gabe reaches his conclusion, we see him and the ghost of his wife. When movie Gabe reaches his conclusion, we see him, the ghost of his wife, and his son. That should tell you a lot about how Adrien fits into the dynamic with Gabe. Also, I find it hard to believe Adrien didn't notice Marinette standing there and realize she's Ladybug. I can't believe it, it's just hard for me to do so. The ending with Marinette revealing her identity to Adrien is cute though. Why'd she wait so long? So to answer the question, I probably maybe put in either the video title or the thumbnail: is the movie better than the show? Kind of, not really. You see, the thing about this is that it's an unequal comparison because the show, for all its faults, just has so much more going on that the movie never even comes close to touching. But if we just isolate the comparison to just the events the movie is retelling, I have to say, yeah, I know, not my most definitive statement, but my opinion on this movie is influenced by the fact that I've watched the show. The movie isn't perfect, but if you're a Miraculous fan, you'll probably enjoy it. And if you aren't, I think you'll still enjoy it, but some things may go over your head. What did you think of the movie? And what did you think of this video? Tell me in the comments and hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you and good day.